Why, hello everybody. So welcome to another Sympathy of Logic. Today's topic, the betterment of you. Basically, this is a video version of the second article I wrote on my blog, the Sympathy of Logic, and its title was "Never Forget Who You Are, for the World Will Not: A Position Rooted in Reality." The topic of it, of course, being that you should be able to truthfully see your position in the world and your flaws truthfully, and only through that can you honestly improve yourself to a better you. So, of course, that line came from Tyrion Lannister from the Game of Thrones Season 1, and I think that was a very good example, because if Tyrion, for example, did not see his position truthfully, he would not be able to be as wily, because he'll be basically learning all the wrong things. For example, imagine if Tyrion thought that he was a more handsome or more better than he was. He would not be able to utilize his abilities as best as he could. So this is a topic about that. To give another quote, Mencius, or Mencius, in Chinese, the great Chinese philosopher, said that in one's life, one will meet a lot of teachers, but not many students. Now, that basically comes down to the position that in your life, you will meet many people who want to tell you how to live your life, but not many people who want to learn or listen. And therefore, you should always try to be the student. At the same time, if you can give your position and learn both ways, that will also be the best position a person should have. So, let's first talk about what usually happens. What usually happens is that a lot of people tend to see themselves above what they are. They tend to see themselves as more of an ideal, and this is no more inherent than when you go for an interview. We are taught since nowadays, when we are a kid, when we go for interviews and all that, and this actually bleeds into the real life of the person, that when you talk about your flaws, you make it a positive thing. Example, I'm a perfectionist, and that means that, and it's a bad thing because I might get things done slower, but I always get it done right. You see what I mean? You're not really truly looking at your flaw as a flaw. And imagine if that was truthfully your problem, you would not be able to improve it, because you can always say to yourself, well, it's a good thing too. So that in itself is an inherent logical problem, which you should truthfully see your real flaws as a flaw, and therefore try to solve it as a solution. And also, in everyday life, you will meet, I think this happens on Facebook a lot, where people use a lot of inspirational quotes without really looking at it. You can see this every day, people putting out posts after posts of inspirational quotes and from philosophers and everything. Yet, truth be told, I will argue that most of them, if you were to ask them who was that philosopher, they would not know. Like one of the most common ones I saw is Friedrich Nietzsche, who basically, a lot of people quoted this line. I've seen this more than once in my life: that which does not kill us makes us stronger. And I actually did talk to one person before and asked the person, did you know that Nietzsche does not advocate what you put up? Because she put the line up there, yet when she explained it, it was totally wrong. And she's like, oh, it didn't matter. Then, well, you shouldn't be misusing his philosophy. So, again, with these examples, as you can see, these people, let's not use that word, these people, such personalities have this issue, which is they can't really see themselves as anything less than an ideal, or more than their ideal self, or at least more of an ideal self for themselves than they are. So the solution, of course, then is pretty simple. The solution is to always look at yourself in a more rooted position. Take your flaws as true flaws. Only then can you become the more ideal self, by first recognizing your flaws. And of course, in such an example, I cannot be remiss, of course, to talk about other people without talking about myself. So what are my flaws? First things, of course, is pretty obvious. If anyone who is to know me, I'm not really very inspirational if you would look at me from a career or financial perspective. I'm actually, I do part-time jobs, so everywhere I earn money mostly from the shares and the dividends that I get, and some part-time jobs and other things that come around once in a while. But I choose to do that. That's for another day. Alright, but it's not a ton of money, but it's enough for me to live. Alright, and I'm just a personality that doesn't spend that much. But that doesn't make me inspirational when you see, oh, look at all that wealth. I don't really have that much wealth. From a career perspective, obviously I'm doing part-time jobs, so there is basically no career, so no one can really say, oh, look at that, he's such a inspiration in his high position in the company or whatever. So I'm not that, and I openly admit it, and I feel I can debate it, and I choose my life as it is. I accept the downsides of it, which is I will never become a rich guy with a Ferrari, or I will never have a huge house. But again, that's for a different day. But you see, as you can see, I'm willing to admit that position, that I've traded off something and I gained something else, which is happiness in my view. But again, also, the important part with that is when you turn it around, you see, because I can recognize that I'm not that, I've chosen my life in this way, but I don't, you see, fraud myself by saying, oh, but I've made my money, I got lucky in some shares in 2004, that's why I'm able to do what I do now. But I don't fraud myself and tell myself, oh, I'm a great investor and everything, and throw all my money into bad investments. Or even I love poker. I played poker for a while for a living, and it was a good life. Very happy, but it wasn't a ton of money. I'm not that, but you see, here's the important part. I don't see myself as a great poker player. It wasn't, so at least I didn't take all my savings and threw into poker and then lose everything. I always understood that I'm not that great a player, alright, but I do what I can, and I take a certain amount of money and I go with it. But I never put 100% of myself or my wealth into poker, because I know I'm not the best. And doesn't mean you're the best. If you're not the best, you don't put all your money into it. But I'm not as good as I'm willing to risk all the money I have on that endeavor, as you can see. So again, you see, you have to be very honest with yourself, and therefore that's why I'm able to do what I did now, because I didn't dump all my money into poker. I mean, when I did play, I made a bit, but it was not a massive windfall. And also on top of that, on the personal side, my biggest flaw is the inability, I would say, to wait for the right moment to, how do you say, confront the situation. As Socrates, I have an issue where if I see something I don't like especially a person I don't like, for example, there's this person I really, how do you say, I hate this person, basically. I feel because he cheated friends for money and stuff like that, and I can't stand the person. So every chance I get when someone says, oh, we should do this with this person, I tend to straight away say, you should not be hanging out with this person. He is a fraud. And sometimes he has people other people who know him, who are there, who feel a bit uncomfortable. But I feel I cannot keep quiet of it, because logically I feel that someone who cheats his friends for money just shouldn't be trusted. And even at the cost of, how you say, the awkwardness, I'm gonna put forth, because I feel that if I don't do that, that's just wrong. That these people might get cheated if I don't say so, and then I'll feel guilty. At the same time, most people will just keep quiet about it. I don't. So therefore, I see that as a flaw, and something that I might have to, how you say, treat myself to doing, because it does lose me certain contacts, I admit. So you can see, I accept that, and I have to choose between, do I want the so-called non-guilt more, is the risk-reward situation, or do I want the more social aspect to be so-called leveled up. And thus, in conclusion, that's basically the crux of it, is that to really look at your flaws as flaws, then go to a solution and weigh what is it that you gain and lose by applying that. For example, like I said, the above one, where I have to choose between being a more socially accepted, I would say, maybe version, or maybe a more, how you say, less, I die more happy, maybe you can argue, because I never contradicted my position on that I don't want to feel guilty, so I'm going to say it regardless whether this person feels uncomfortable. You see, I have to make that choice. I have made that choice. Is basically the latter, which was be true to yourself and say what it is, but it is definitely socially it makes me socially less acceptable, so I chosen that. And in the last line, I would say basically the most important part: if you are a fool, it's better to know sooner than later, so at least you can do something about it. Not calling anybody on watching this video a fool, but I have parts of me that's definitely very foolish, and I'm willing to admit it. Thank you very much. Till next word.